What's going on, guys? Hey, it's Joe here from Deranged. So, as I'm sure you guys all know if you're here, the power sports industry, especially in the off-road side, has been crazy the last little while. If you're lucky enough to find a machine at a dealership right now, there probably isn't very many others sitting in backup. So right now it's a really tough time to get a machine. Not only that, jumping in on a new machine can be tough to decide. There are so many options out there right now. So in today's video, we're gonna circle back on a topic that we've covered in the past, and that is which side-by-side is right for you. Hopefully, after watching this video, you'll have a little better idea of which one you should choose.
You never there you go, there you go. Was you lived your life with miles of bitterness. And I'm just gonna say it, I'll say it. I used to think that you were right in this, but maybe you were wrong. I'm just gonna say it, I'll say it.
So before we get into specific machines, it's important that we get a couple things out of the way real quick first. Number one, so there are a shortage of machines going on right now. We're side-by-sides, off-road power sports in general. There's a bit of a shortage going on right now. So you may walk into a dealer and see less machines than you've seen there in the past. That's just kind of a fact of where we're at right now. So understand that if you're going to buy a new machine, you may not be able to walk through the showroom floor and choose one and take it home that day. You may be looking at a little bit of a wait. As a matter of fact, recently I've heard delays as long as mid-September, and even further in that into next year for when you can expect to receive a new machine. It all kind of depends on what's going on with the economy right now, and by economy I mean chip shortages and everything else going on in the world right now. You may be looking at a little bit of a wait. So that's the first thing to get out of the way. The next thing we need to get out of the way, or understand I guess, is who you plan to ride with. So before you consider which side-by-side you want to pick up, you need to take some time to think about who you plan to ride with. Do you have friends that have a machine? If it was me, I would start in a similar or maybe more advanced, because I want to kick their tail, machine, and kind of lean towards that category. The reason why, imagine you have a bunch of friends who own 200 horsepower machines. You might not want to look at the Teryx. The Teryx is a great machine. The Kawasaki Terex 800, been around for a long time, super reliable, little billy goat of a climber, great rig, great starter side-by-side. But if all of your friends have Can-Am X3s that are built for the dunes and shredding out there, picking up a Teryx might not be the right move for you. So consider what your friends are driving and probably look at models that are similar to what they are. One of the reasons why is this isn't a solo sport. The UTV industry, or side-by-side industry, or community, I guess you'd call it, is really a group of friends. There's a lot of friends riding together. You'll join in with people on the trails. There's rallies, all that kind of stuff. It's really kind of a group thing. So you'll want to have a machine that will help blend in with the group that you have. So number two, consider your friends and what they drive, and whether or not the machines you're looking at will fit in with the machines that they have. And lastly, kind of keying off of that, another thing you want to consider, and probably the most important thing, is where you plan to ride. Why is this important? Well, if you plan to spend a lot of time in super rocky technical stuff, you're going to want to look at machines that are built to handle that type of thing. If you plan on going to Moab on a regular basis, you want to look at machines that would be able to handle Moab and do a good job out there. If you plan to be at Glamis, you live in Yuma, and you plan to be at Glamis 6 times a month, you're probably not going to look at the lower horsepower kind of sport utility type machines. You're going to want to lean in to the higher horsepower Turbo S's, X3s. Those machines are going to help you get around the dunes and have a blast out there. Don't get me wrong, you'll be able to have a blast on just about any machine, but there's no two ways about it. The X3s, the Turbo S's, the big turbo machines are just plain more fun when you get into sand dunes. That kind of leads me into my next question, and that is, do you need a turbo side-by-side? We've covered this topic in the past. We'll link a video on one of these corners as to whether or not you need a side-by-side, and kind of go into some detail on why and why not. But I'll give you a little clue and let you know the answer is no. You don't need a turbo side-by-side. There are benefits. Check out that video that we linked to see some of the benefits and some of the reasons you may want to have a turbo. and some of the reasons you don't really need a turbo. So while you're down there and checking out those links below in the description, don't forget to hit subscribe and subscribe to the channel. We'll bring you more content like this, some stuff out on the trail, some more rides, things like that, and basically anything around the off-road world, a lot keying towards the side-by-side and UTV industry, because that's what we do and that's what we love. We hope we can bring you additional content that you'll enjoy. One more thing before we jump into specific models, and that is I want to break these up in categories. We're going to give you kind of a top 3 for each one of the categories of side-by-sides that I'm going to mention shortly, and I'm going to run through those. But one thing I want to make sure you understand is this is not an exhaustive list of all side-by-sides out there. If I was to put together that list, we would be here all night and you would have tuned out long ago. You definitely wouldn't watch the whole 50 minutes or an hour, however long it would take. So we've broken it down into the top 3 machines that we would recommend in each one of these categories. And by all means, there are many others to choose from, many other great machines out there. These are just probably the first 3 in each category that you're probably going to want to look at. We're going to give you our top 3 machines for the sport side-by-sides, the sport utility side-by-sides, and what I like to call the adventure class side-by-sides. So we'll go through what each one of those classes is. Let's jump in first with the adventure class. So what are adventure side-by-sides? Well, adventure side-by-sides are machines that have a good combination of value, capability, and utility. These machines are not high horsepower rigs. They don't have 20 inches of travel. For the most part, they're designed for mountain trails where space is tight, where you need to get in and out of narrow things. And they're going to bring value. They're not going to be super high priced. They're going to be more budget friendly, for lack of a better term. The top 3 models we'd consider in this category are the Kawasaki Terex, the Yamaha Wolverine, and the Honda Pioneer. First, let's talk about the Kawasaki Terex. So the Kawasaki Terex has been around for a long time. It wasn't the original, but it was pretty close. They were really early to the side-by-side and UTV market. Some of the early side-by-side advertisements that you'll see are Kawasaki Terexes in Sand Hollow, Utah, in the dunes and whatnot out there, and doing a little bit of the rock stuff. So they've been around for a long time. They're a proven and reliable machine. As a matter of fact, they'll surprise most people on the obstacles and the things that they can do. One of the early videos that we did on this channel was us taking Garrett's Kawasaki Terex out and doing the maze trail at Sand Hollow, and we were surprised and amazed, for lack of a better term, at how well that machine did. Basically bone stock. The only change that Garrett made to it is he put it on 28s and put a 2-inch bracket lift on it. Other than that, the sucker handled the maze trail, which is a pretty difficult trail out at Sand Hollow, well. While you may not be able to keep up with other machines in the dunes and whatnot while you're cruising around in your Teryx, you'll be able to keep up just fine in most other terrains. Another thing about the Kawasaki Terex is the fit and finish. Kawasaki does a great job with their fit and finish, like most of the other Japanese manufacturers. For each one of these machines, we're going to give it like a 3-word review, and our 3-word review for the Kawasaki Terex is reliable, capable, value. The Yamaha Wolverine is the next adventure class machine that we'll talk about. The Wolverine and the Teryx, they're actually often compared to each other. Matter of fact, we did it. Check out the video below. But there's some obvious reasons why they are compared. The style is pretty similar on both of them with the cage design and whatnot. They're in the same ballpark price-wise, so they're kind of a more value-based machine. And both are actually considered very reliable. In fact, so reliable that the Kawasaki Terex comes with a 3-year warranty from the factory, and the Yamaha Wolverine comes with a 10-year belt warranty. So both of them believe in their product that much that they're able to offer that type of a warranty that you won't find on other side-by-sides in the industry. A standout feature for the Wolverine is it has, in our opinion, the best fit and finish in the industry, just like its bigger brother, the RMax. As for our 3-word review for the Yamaha Wolverine, it is reliable, versatile, and capable. The Honda Pioneer is next on our list, and it has some key differences from its cousins in the adventure category. The biggest difference being the dual clutch transmission. Most side-by-sides, including the Teryx and the Wolverine, come with a CVT transmission and a rubber drive belt. The Pioneer, however, comes with a dual clutch transmission where you actually shift through the gears as you're driving along. Another unique feature of the Honda Pioneer, and this is specifically for the 5-seat model, is the dump bed. So the 5-seat Honda Pioneers, they have 3 seats up front and 2 seats in the back. And the back seats actually fold down and become part of the bed, and you're able to dump the bed as well. So It's really a innovative and unique feature that allows you to have rear passenger space when you need it and full cargo ability when you don't need it. So that's another standout feature of the Honda Pioneer. As for our 3-word review of the Honda Pioneer, it is unique, versatile, and reliable. Now let's talk about the sport utility machines. So what is a sport utility side-by-side? Well, to be frank, it's a utility side-by-side that's sporty, or a sports side-by-side that provides some utility. Pretty tough one there, folks. While this style of machine is not new, the category really has started to define itself over the past few years with the release of the Polaris General in 2016 and the Yamaha RMax in 2020. Let's take a look at the category, starting with what we consider to be the originator of it, the Can-Am Commander. The 1000cc Can-Am Commander was released in 2013 and was the first kind of utility style side-by-side to bring real power to the industry. When it came out and brought the power that they did, it blew all the other machines out of the water. It was redesigned in 2021 and brought a ton of new features. If you've watched Can-Am over the last 5 years, you've probably noticed that they have taken on the strategy of releasing a base model of a machine with 3 to 5 different models above it. An example being the X3, then the X3 XRS, X3 XDS, X3 XRC. You get the picture. They basically go off a base model and add additional features and call it a new model from there. With the redesign of the Commander, they've done the same thing here and given us 5 new models. The DPS in both 2-seat and 4-seat, the XT in 2-seat and 4-seat, and the XTP in the 2-seat only. Some of the standout features of the Commander are suspension across all models, a standard winch on the non-base models, and the redesigned look that really does look great in person. Our 3-word review of the Can-Am Commander is sporty, fun, options. The Yamaha RMax is our next machine. The RMax was released at kind of a really awkward time in the industry. It was right at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, and there wasn't a ton of exterior marketing going on, for a lack of a better term. I think they might have got 1 or 2 shows out of the way and then weren't able to really tour the country and show their machine off, their new rig, like they would in most cases. Despite those restrictions, we were given the opportunity to get some seat time with the RMax in Sand Hollow, and we couldn't have came away more impressed. You can see more information or see our review of the RMax in a video on one of these corners up here. But needless to say, we came away impressed. The RMax was just plain sportier than we expected. It was a smoother ride than we expected. And the fit and finish, like I mentioned earlier with the Yamaha Wolverine, was top notch and simply the best in the industry. Our 3-word review of the Yamaha RMax is sporty, versatile, quality. And our 3rd sport utility vehicle that we want to talk about is the Polaris General. The Polaris General was certainly not the first sport utility machine on the market, but they certainly did take it to the next level. They did this by providing a comfortable cabin for all 4 passengers in the 4-seat and giving the machine an overall sporty feel, while maintaining the utility of a dumping bed. On the 4-seat model specifically, the rear passenger seats are some of the most comfortable that are out there, and one look at the interior will tell you that the rear passengers were not just an afterthought like you see on some other machines. And in 2020, Polaris released the General XP models, giving them additional ground clearance, additional suspension travel, and a bunch of other features. To put it simply, our 3-word review of the Polaris General is sport, utility, king. All right, let's talk about sport machines. So sport machines are designed to push the limits. They are the highest horsepower machines with the most features that you'll be able to find in any other category. From smart suspension installed to GPS that communicates with each other, you can get just about anything in these machines. However, with those features come a price tag. These machines are also some of the most pricey machines that you're going to look at. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your budget. Before we get into the machines, a quick word of advice. If this is your first machine and you're looking at a sports side-by-side, take some time to learn and know your machine before you start to push the limits. These high-end sport machines will make you feel like you're a lot better driver than you actually are. Don't assume that just because you have 200 horsepower and 24 inches of suspension travel that you can just give it the beans anytime that you want and you're going to be able to fly through anything. You need to understand your machine first and get used to the power and power delivery. If you don't take the time to learn how to use the power of your machine, you'll end up upside down. Trust me, I've seen it. All right, we're going to start with the most well-known and well-established brand in the industry, and that is Polaris with the Polaris RZR Turbo S. The RZR Turbo S is one of Polaris's top models. It comes with all kinds of suspension travel, all kinds of features built right in, including dynamic suspension, which is live valve suspension that adjusts on the fly with multiple inputs to give you a smooth ride and help save you if you're going through obstacles that could be a little rougher than you were expecting. The Turbo S is also 72 inches wide and is an absolute beast in the desert. Super capable in the rocks as well and does very well in the dunes. The suspension on the Turbo S is pretty darn cushy, especially if you're looking at the Dynamics version, and it'll give you a plush ride in just about any terrain. We've done a few more in-depth videos on the Turbo S in the past. Feel free to take a look at them. I'm sure they'll be linked in the description below. With that said, our 3-word review for the Polaris RZR Turbo S is quick, cushy, and versatile. For our next machine, we're actually going to stick right with Polaris, and that is with the Polaris RZR Pro XP. For months leading up to the release of the RZR Pro XP, there were all kinds of spy shots and pictures and rumors and everything else about this machine that Polaris had been developing. When it was released, there was a ton to be excited about. Polaris took it to the next level with features, especially on the interior, with things like steering wheel controls and a rear seat in the 4-seat model that was a new innovation never before seen in the industry that allows you to have a fold flat cargo area or seats depending on what your needs are. For those of you who are in width restricted areas that are required to be 64 inches wide or less, Polaris was really proud, and still is proud, of having a 64-inch wide machine in the RZR Pro XP that drives like a 72-inch machine. Overall, the Pro XP is very impressive. We'll be getting plenty of seat time behind the RZR Pro XP very soon, and when we do, we'll be bringing you more in-depth content to give you our more in-depth impressions on the machine. With that said, our 3-word review of the RZR Pro XP is nimble, quick, and loaded. The last machine we're going to talk about in this sport category is the Can-Am Maverick X3. The X3 comes in a variety of trim levels, and to be honest, all of them probably deserve a look. But if you want the cream of the crop, that is the Can-Am Maverick X3 XRS Turbo RR. The name is a mouthful, but it is a great machine. The XRS models are 72 inches wide, and the Turbo RR models come with 195 horsepower straight out of the box, making them an absolute ripper. In 2020, Can-Am jumped into the electronically controlled shock game with the Smart Shocks, which took their machine to the next level. While there are probably other features that stand out and deserve some time to talk about, the two that stand out the most to me are 195 horsepower, the horsepower king, and 24 inches of suspension travel. The travel on these things is like no other. Our 3-word review of the Can-Am Maverick X3 XRS Turbo RR is intense, focused, ripper. Okay, I'm sure you've noticed by now that we didn't mention any of the Japanese manufacturers with their naturally aspirated machines, like the Kawasaki Terex, the Honda Talon, the Yamaha YXZ. It's not that we don't love those machines. We do. I think if you watch our channel or if you look at our videos, you'll see that we absolutely do love those machines. I'm going to stir the pot here and just come out and say it. Most people jumping into their first side-by-side don't need a turbo. As a matter of fact, the KRX, the Honda Talon, and the Yamaha YXZ are some of the first machines that they should be looking at. Hey, before you go, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button down below. It really helps YouTube understand that we're providing content that people value. We would really appreciate it. I know we appreciate those that subscribe already. If you'd like to support our channel in other ways, click the link below to Rocky Mountain ATV. If you're looking for parts, supplies, anything else for your side-by-side, you can shop there. Click on the link and let them know we sent you and give us a little bit of a spiff. We also have plenty of parts and accessories available on DerangedOffroad.com, so check us out there. With that said, that's it for this one, guys. Ride safe, pack out what you pack in, and we'll see you on the next one.